أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد اللهم صل صلاة كاملة وسلم سلاما تاما على سيدنا محمد الذي تنحل به العقد وتنفرج به الكرب وتقضى به الحوائج وتنال به الرغائب وحسن الخواتم ويستسقى الغمام بوجهه الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه في كل لمحة ونفس بعدد كل معلوم لك اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وقلبا خاشعا ولسانا ذاكرا وشاكرا وتوبة نصوحا اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع وقلب لا يخشع ونفس لا تشبع وعمل لا يرفع رب زدني علما وفهما والحقنا بالصالحين رب يسر ولا تعسر رب تمم بالخير لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My respected brothers, inshallah ta'ala, our intention is to go through the 15th fard out of our 54 faraid that we go through every Friday. And the 15th fard it is fard upon every Muslim to see Shaytan alayhi la'na, Satan, the devil, as his number one personal as well as public enemy. To see Shaytan as your number one personal and public enemy at all times. This topic is a topic that majority of the people find it quite fascinating, and because it's to do with something that we don't see and yet we always say he's our enemy. So what I'm going to go through with you inshallah ta'ala tonight, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah into our learning tonight, is of two sections. One is I will give you general information of what Allah says in the Qur'an about this particular being called Shaytan alayhi la'na, one of the main sources of evil, one of the three main sources of evil. The first one being nafs, second one being shaitan, and the third one being jahala, ignorance. The second source is Shaytan alayhi la'na. So we need to understand this enemy of ours. Who is he? And at the end, inshallah, if we have time, I have a very interesting conversation, recorded conversation between Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Shaytan alayhi la'na. He comes to visit Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was sitting in the company of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, other companions, and he knocks on the door. And he says, I want to come in, I seek your permission. And he says, who are you? Everybody knows. Everybody doesn't know, but Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knows. And he says to his companions, do you know who's outside? They said, Allah and His Rasul knows best. He says, it is Shaytan alayhi la'na. He is commanded by Allah to come and answer my questions. And you will hear every answer that he gives you. And he is commanded to tell you the truth, because if he doesn't, he'll be absolutely destroyed. So inshallah, we will have this conversation. It is quite fascinating. He discloses every trick in the book that he uses. So inshallah, I even have it as a PDF file that you can also study it afterwards. Inshallah ta'ala, if I get my respected brother Nazir to put it on the website, you can download and follow this particular conversation, inshallah. Before that, let's go through and try to understand this enemy of ours that everybody should be very familiar with, inshallah, one way or another. Who is Shaytan alayhi la'na? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, firstly, before who he is, what kind of nature he has, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, what is his function? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in Surah Al-Fatir, verse 6, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Inna shaytana lakum adu, fattakhiduhu aduwa. Innama yad'u hizbahu liyakunu min ashabis sa'ir. Truly Shaytan is an enemy for you. So treat him as an enemy. So this is fard upon us. It is compulsory, it is obligatory upon us to see Shaytan as an enemy and treat him as an enemy because he sees us as an enemy, an ardent foe. Absolutely so. So it is compulsory, it is fard, one of the 54 faraid, for a Muslim to see Shaytan alayhi la'na as an enemy. What does he do? He only invites his followers that they may become companions of him. In where? In the blazing fire of hell. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. In Surah Yasin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in verse 60, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alam a'had ilaykum ya bani Adama, alla ta'budu shaytan, innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. Did I not command you, you sons of Adam, children of Adam, that you worship not the devil, the shaitan, for he is your manifest, clear enemy. So we are here, aduwwun mubin, we know that he is really ardent enemy. No mistake about it. You can never make any peace or truce with him. Impossible. So, who is this guy? Again in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in verse 208, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu dkhulu fi as-silmi kaffah, wa la tattabi'u khutuwati ash-shaytan, innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. O you who believe, those who call themselves Muslims, believers in Allah Almighty One, submit entirely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by entering into Islam completely, and do not walk in the footsteps of the devil, Shaytan alayhi la'na, the cursed one. Verily he is a clear enemy unto you. He is an enemy, there is not a single doubt. What kind of enemy is this? He is an invisible enemy. A challenge for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about him in Surah Al-A'raf. Actually, if you read Surah Al-A'raf, fascinating. Fascinating. Talks about the whole story of Shaitan. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Innahu yarakum huwa wa qabiluhu min haythu la tarawnahum. Inna ja'alna ash-shaytana awliya'a lilladhina la yu'minun. He, this devil, this creature created by Allah, sees you. He and his tribe, from whence you see them not. Indeed, we have made the devils the allies of those who do not believe. He is not a human being. He is of the jinn kind, the species who were created before us, the inhabitants of this world. They used to live here from the jinn kind. Father of the jinn, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an, was created from smokeless fire, an energy form, completely different than our material form. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the jinn from a smokeless the fire, understanding perhaps energy form, not within our spectrum that we can see. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Kahf, what kind of creature he is? He says, Bismillah, كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. He was one of the jinn, and he rebelled against his Lord's command, that we will talk about shortly, inshallah, in Surah Al-Kahf, verse 50. If there is such thing, the first father of the jinn, Abu Jinn, the father of all jinn, when they talk about Turks, they call Ataturk. Ataturk, father of Turks. So the father of the jinn, created from smokeless fire, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَخَلَقَ الْجَانَّ مِن مَارِجٍ مِّن نَارٍ. And the jinn he created of smokeless fire, in Surah Al-Rahman. Smokeless fire. To an Arab, there's a spectrum within the energy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you cannot see. They've got no idea to understand. But smokeless fire, maybe they can, it's a blue fire, it's an energy form, maybe they can understand. Allah knows best. Again, elsewhere in the Qur'an, Surah Al-Hijr, verse 27, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْجَانَّ خَلَقْنَاهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ مِنْ نَارِ السَّمُومِ. And the jinn species, the race, we created before your kind, the humankind, of flaming fire. Of flaming fire. So, what caused this incident? What did we ever do to Shaytan? We didn't do anything to him. I didn't even know him. I never seen him. And yet, apparently he became an enemy unto us. He wasn't like this before. He was a jinn kind. He was so religious, so pious. He used to worship amongst the angels. One of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is capable of doing anything. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Al-A'raf, verse 11. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَاكُمْ ثُمَّ صَوَّرْنَاكُمْ ثُمَّ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ لَمْ يَكُنْ مِنَ السَّاجِدِينَ. And certainly we created you, then we fashioned you, and we said to the angels, make sajda before Adam. And they all fell prostrate, fell into sajda, save except for Iblis, Satan, who was not of those who prostrated, who did not listen to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the jinns who used to live on earth, they became renegade. They used to kill all the messengers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala became angry with them and sent this being who was praying amongst the angels. This says Shaytan at that time, Iblis, he says, go down and destroy them. So he came as a general amongst the angels, fighting and killed them. So many of them, some of them ran away. And when he was coming up to the heavens, he heard some talk in the heavens. What was the talk? The talk was, there's a new kid in the block. New, famous kid. His name is Adam. He was expecting some sort of recognition from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some stars from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some promotion from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when his limelight, spotlight is taken away from him, because he's a sentient being. He is a mukallaf person, being like human beings. He felt hasad in his heart. He felt jealousy in his heart. He says, what? Somebody's taken my favorite position? Impossible. He was so jealous. So when he came and looked at Adam alayhi salam, who was not even, he just a shell, not a single ruh, no spirit in him, he says, what? This is made out of yucky stuff called earth, and I am made out of what? I am made out of energy? I am better than him. I am better than him. Hasad, envy, jealousy got into him. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, I have created Adam with my own hands. I have breathed my spirit into him. And I asked the angels to salute him. A form of salutation, form of respect is to make sajda. So they all made sajda because Allah commanded. The only being, only creature who did not make sajda was Shaytan, just standing in the thousands of millions of angels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him, what stopped you from making sajda? And what did he say? Let's see. قال ما منعك ألا تسجد إذ أمرتك قال أنا خير منه خلقتني من نار وخلقته من طين. What a ridiculous idea. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him, O Shaytan, O Iblis, what stopped you so that you did not prostrate, make sajda when I commanded you? It's my command. I am your God. I am your creator. Iblis said, I am better than him. You have created me of fire, while him you did create of dust, dirt, filth, from clay. What a reasoning. He cannot see the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He just looks at him. What has that got to do with the price of the fish in the China market? Or the price of the red onions in the Spanish market? Nothing to do with the reality. But he is thinking, he is arrogant, his hasad, his vision is blurred. He lost everything as a result. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him when he disobeyed Allah's commandment to make sajda to Adam, قَالَ فاخرج منها فإنك رجيم وإن عليك اللعنة إلى يوم الدين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him, this is a conversation in Surah Al-Hijr, verses 34 to 35, then get out from it, lose your rank, everything stripped from him. For you are indeed rejected, rajim, accursed, completely, mal'oon in that sense. And the curse shall be upon you, this curse will be upon you until the day of judgment. Then what happened? Shaytan alayhi la'na was taken by the angels to chuck into Jahannam. All of a sudden he looked at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knows everything. He says, what are you looking at? What are you gawking at? He says, oh Allah, he's still defiant. No, sorry. Kibr is as such. Kibr is one impediment, will not allow you to say sorry to anybody. Kibr, arrogance. Is qala, Shaitan said, qala rabbi fanzirni ila yawmi yub'athun. Iblis said, oh my Lord, grant me a respite until the day they shall be resurrected. So give me a chance, I'll prove my point that I'm better than them. Shaytan alayhi la'na. Dingili bozuk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him, قال فإنك من المنظرين إلى يوم وقت المعلوم. Allah said to him, respite is granted to you, permission is granted to you as you wish, until the time appointed, until the day of judgment. You are given respite. So what is he going to do? This is the most interesting part. Remember, he is the one who's arrogant, he is the one who's jealous and hasad, he's the one who disobeys Allah. Then he turns around, as most arrogant people do, blame everybody else except himself. He says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, قال ربي بما أغويتني. Oh Allah, my Lord, because you have led me astray, you kicked me out. He's blaming Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his stupidity. You want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept you when you disobey him? Impossible. Every creature in the universe makes sajda except Shaytan alayhi la'na, and he blames Allah for it. This is the human psyche also. Look at the arrogant people. If a person is mukhlis, sincere in his actions and deeds and everything that he does, when you say to him you're doing something wrong, immediately that sincere person will own it up and apologize and try to amends, try to correct himself, his mistake. But an arrogant person will always defend himself, will always justify his actions. Shaitan alayhi la'na says the same thing. He says, because of you, bima aghwaytani, you are the one who led me astray, you kicked me out, I didn't do anything. That's what he's saying. Nah. Then he says, لَأُزَيِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. Then he swears to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I shall adorn the path of error, path of sin, path of haram for them on earth, and shall mislead them all. I'll show it to you that I will take them with me to Jahannam, your so-called, your best creation, the Adam and his children. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's conversation with Shaitan continues. قال Shaitan, قال فبما أغويتني. We read this one. Iblis said in English, now because you have sent me astray, I shall lurk in ambush for them in your straight path. Then I shall come upon them from before them and from behind them, from their right and from their left, and you shall not find most of the mankind thankful towards you, O Lord. وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ شَاكِرُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will cheat them. I will approach. What is his approach? We're going to talk about in a minute. Doesn't matter who you are, Shaitan will come to you to trick you. He's got a bag of tricks in his, he just takes it, this is number 7. Number 7 is for this one. Or this one, like a mechanic, he knows exactly what to use on each person. On each part of the engine, he knows what in the community, amongst human beings, he knows exactly. You're a woman, he knows the best. You're a young man, oh, beautiful. You're an old man, you're a sheikh, you're an alim, you're a jahil. Doesn't matter who you are. Shaitan will come to you and play your game. He is gifted at this one. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِلَّا عِبَادِكَ. Shaitan alayhi says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I will do all of these deviation, I will trick all of them except who? إِلَّا عِبَادِكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. Except your sincere, devoted servants of yours. This is something that I cannot do. So what happens to those who follow Shaitan alayhi la'nah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Shaitan when he makes his challenge to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wager, so to speak, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him, قَالَ اذهب فمن تبعك منهم فإن جهنم جزاؤكم جزاء موفورا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, go, whosoever of them follow you. Hell is assured to be the reward for you all, an ample reward. You will see. Then what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, leave this garden, absolutely degraded, vanquished. As for those of them who follow you, I shall fill the hellfire with you all. Now, we live in a Western country, in a Western society, where this concept is completely foreign to them. They think, na'udhu billah, Shaitan is the opposite of God. They think that Shaitan, Satan, the devil, has equal power as God. They think that people worship Shaitan and Shaitan lives in the hell. That's his palace. That's his dominion. The black prince, the Lucifer. There are lots of movies, you watch it every day. This is not our concept. Shaitan alayhi la'na is a creation of Allah, a creature of Allah, from the jinn kind. He is powerless, absolutely. He can never make you do anything. He cannot do anything. Like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a hadith says, I am just sent as a bashiran wa nadhira by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My duty is to convey people to Islam. Hidayah is only given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shaitan alayhi la'na is also sent to this world as a test to you. And his job is to give you waswasa. His job is to invite you to the path of the evil and disobedience to Allah. He says he doesn't have any power to make you do things. It's all the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shaitan can never do anything to you. Shaitan has no power at all except to give you waswasa. This is our understanding. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also tells him, فَاسْتَوْزِز مَنِ اسْتَطَعْتَ مِنْهُمْ بِصَوْتِكَ وَأَجْلِبْ عَلَيْهِ بِخَيْلِكَ وَرَجِلِكَ وَشَارِكْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَوْلَادِ وَعِدْهُمْ وَمَا يَعِدُهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ إِلَّا غُرُورًا. صدق الله العظيم. In Surah Al-Isra, verse 64, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and go and excite those of them that you can with your voice, and rally against them with your horse and your foot, and share with them their wealth and children, and make promises to them. But the shaitan promises them nothing but illusion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. Nothing but ghurur. Ghurur, if you ask a Turkish man, what's ghurur? He says arrogance. No. Ghurur in Arabic means somebody who's been deceived. Somebody who's just taken for a ride. Somebody who's been deceived, illusioned. Somebody plays tricks on you guys and you just believe. It's not the reality. Like هذه الحياة الدنيا mata'ul ghurur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. This dunya is nothing but a deception, a ploy for you to you be deceived. It's a matrix. Shaytan will use matrix so effectively before your eyes. Now the question is, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send Shaytan onto us? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا كَانَ لَهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ إِلَّا لِنَعْلَمَ مَنْ يُؤْمِنُ بِالْآخِرَةِ مِمَّنْ هُوَ مِنْهَا فِي شَكٍّ وَرَبُّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَفِيظٌ صدق الله العظيم. And he had no authority over them save we, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, would know him who believes in the hereafter from him who is in doubt. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent the shaitan to sort out who believes in Allah properly and who just gives into this dunya and teachings of shaitan. And your Lord preserves all things. Allah is in control, but Allah has given you a challenge. A challenge because you are the best of creation. Jannah, paradise not for free. You cannot just enter Jannah because you said La ilaha illallah easily. You'll be challenged. There is huge challenge. As we spoke about 2 weeks ago, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says a mu'min is surrounded by, sieged by the enemies. Shaitan is one of them. Munafiqin another one. Kuffar another one. Hasad Muslim is another one. Nafs is another one. Yep. Dunya is another one. Shahawat is another one. It's all challenges. You have to swim amongst these and enter into Jannah. When Jibreel al-Amin was asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Jibreel, go and have a look at Jannah, when he created Jannah first. When he went to Jannah and he looked, subhanallah, Jannah is so beautiful, amazing. Then he came out of Jannah and he looked at Jannah. Around Jannah is surrounded completely with difficulties, hardships. It's not easy to enter the Jannah. And when he came, he said, Ya Rabbil Alam, Jannah is beautiful. If anybody knows about this, they will die to get in, literally. But it's so difficult. There are so many entrapments, so many difficult things around it. They need to really work hard at it. It says, okay, go and see Jahannam now. Jibreel Amin goes and see Jahannam, the just created Jahannam. He looks at Jahannam, whoa! If people knew what Jahannam is, they will avoid it at all costs whatsoever. But when he came out and have a look, he says, subhanallah. He says, this place is surrounded by all the temptations, easy things, beautiful things, nice things. Human beings will jump at it. But it's a trick, it's a test by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What was the ayah, purpose of our creation? الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this life of yours, this death of yours, to test which of you obey Allah and disobey Allah through good deeds. That's the creation purpose. It's a trial, nothing else. So shaitan is nothing but another trial for us. For two very important reasons, it is absolutely fard upon every Muslim, every believer to constantly wage war against the devil, the shaitan alayhi la'na. And it is fard for a Muslim to try to defeat the shaitan. You need to defeat the shaitan, otherwise you're gone. If you did not defeat him, he'll defeat you. Not a single other option. You don't make a truce with shaitan. Leave me alone, mate. I'll leave you alone. I'm good. You good? Doesn't work that way. The reason, first reason, all of us, without any exception, you and I, have such an enemy in shaitan with whom there is no possibility of making peace or truce with him ever and ever and ever. A sworn enemy. Impossible. Even if you say, I don't believe in shaitan. Go ahead, say it. But it will not help you. I don't believe in the unseen things. I don't believe in the jinn or shaitan. This is all nonsense. I'm a scientific man. Go and do anything you want. But the reality doesn't change. Another point, there is no khair, there is no goodness of any kind could ever come from him to you. Ever. Shaitan alayhi la'na. This is shaitan. He is always looking for every possible moment, every nanosecond, every opportunity, small or big, to destroy your eternal life, your akhirah. He's bent on destroying you. He does not take a break. He does not rest. He does not sleep. He does not take his eye off you. He is constantly focused. And you ignore him. Doesn't matter, Shaytan. Okay? It doesn't work. You must therefore never be neglectful of such enemy. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us before. We read the meaning of the ayah before. Truly, Shaytan is an enemy unto you. Inna shaytana lakum adu fattakhidhuhu aduwa. Truly, Shaytan is an enemy for you. So treat him as an enemy. He only invites his followers that they may become companions of the hellfire. Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Alam ahadkum, alam ahad, Bani Adam alla ta'budu shaytan, innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. Did I not command you, O sons of Adam, that you worship not the devil, for he is your clear enemy? Second reason. You know, sometimes they have the advertisement in the battery advertisement about some rabbits. Ever-ready batteries or some batteries. It goes, doesn't matter, every other thing is gone. This guy is constantly still banging its head towards the wall. Energy, non-stop. Shaitan's energy does not exhaust. Shaitan is always there and constantly fighting and battling with you. Never give up. It never gives up. In fact, right now, he has been attacking you night and day, 24/7, 365 days a year, until you leave this world. Never. Right now, he's sitting with you, he's listening to what I'm saying to you. Everybody has one. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, as soon as a child is born, a malak and a shaitan is given to him. And when he comes at the age of puberty, that shaitan starts to be active with that person, and he tries to give you waswasa because the sins are written. Everybody has one. Did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have one? The Prophet of Allah has one? Yes, he did have one. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked, Ya Rasulullah, do you also have a shaitan? He says, yes. But my shaitan is submitted. My shaitan has given up on me. My shaitan is completely given up on me. According to one particular version, he says, instead of telling me evil, he tells me the good things. He says, just out of what they call this, but he says, do this, do this, do this. Might as well, he says, I'm a loser. I'm the worst unlucky shaitan in the world to be your shaitan. He says, I'm your shaitan. Shaitan, oh, he's so sick, he's so feeble, he's so frail that he's always on drug. The drug of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot move. Submitted. So he has no control over Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at all. But everybody, every Muslim has one. Made from the jinn kind. The shaitan alayhi la'na. Who's bent on destroying you. Constantly. You are absolutely in darkness and clueless about his plans about you. He's constantly scheming. He's constantly working on you. Because of the fact that you are trying to practice your deen and inviting others to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this action of yours ruins his plans over you. Therefore infuriates him, rages him towards you. Therefore, the more you work in the da'wah, the more he attacks you. So the people that been attacked constantly are the practicing Muslims. The other people, Shaitan says, he's part of me, don't worry about it. He's part of the clan, he's part of my #1 club member. Yep, he's got on flybys. He gets constantly marks. The more you resist him by becoming better Muslim, the more his anger and rage and opposition and plans over you. What does he do? How does he attack you? He will try to do his best to spoil your good deeds. A'mal al-salihah. You did your salat, he comes. We'll read in the story that fascinating what he does to you. And push you into ruin and destruction. Because you consider that you are quite safe from him out of ignorance, out of jahala, and therefore you have no fear of him. The greatest jahil person is the one who does not fear shaitan. The worst ignoramus is the one who does not fear shaitan, his tricks. Because that enemy never sleeps. There is one particular wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the Salaf, Yahya bin Ma'adh radiallahu anh said, that little C is actually supposed to be radiallahu anh. He says, Shaytan is sitting at leisure, waiting to destroy you. While you're occupied with this worldly affairs, with dunya, hubbud dunya, Shaytan is seeing and watching you carefully while you do not see him. You have forgotten him, but he has never forgotten you. He is after you. Shaytan has his helper in yourself called Nafsul Ammara. He's got a mate inside of you. It is therefore imperative, fard upon you, that you should fight him and defeat him. You cannot be secure from corruption and ruin unless you do this. You need to fight with him, enemy. How to defeat Shaytan and get rid of him? Our learned mashayikh, our teachers have suggested 2 ways to do this. Firstly, there is no way to remain safe from Shaytan and to drive him away except by seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shaytan is like a very vicious dog. Absolutely. Labrador. He is such a dog that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exalted, subhanahu wa ta'ala has let loose onto you. You've got no way of running away from him. Can you imagine you go to a particular house with lots of security doors and there says come in when you press the button from the, what do you call, from the gates. But as soon as you go come in, the door shuts. Yep. And all of a sudden 5, 6 Labradors. They look at you. What are you going to do? We entered in this world. They said, come in. We came to this world, beautiful, green, this palace. And all of a sudden there is vicious dogs. And okay, you've got a big stick in your hand. And start hitting, start fighting. Yeah, they run away and come back. They run away and come back. For hours you're exhausted, but they never give up. You can never fight with the dogs. What's the way of stopping the dog? Impossible to stop the dog. They'll die. That's what they're created for. They're watchdogs, correct? The only way is if you receive a little whistle from where? The owner says, hey, sit. They all sit. You can walk next to dogs, they don't even look at you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I seek refuge in Allah Almighty from the accursed Shaytan. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم is exactly the same whistle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, stop, because you asked the owner of the palace to stop his dog. That's what you do. You don't fight with the shaitan. You seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. There are so many sayings about أعوذ بالله من الشيطان. The moment that you say it, shaitan says, finished. Shaitan runs away from you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Allah makes that command in the Qur'an. Seek refuge in Allah from the cursed one. Allah gives us the clue in the Qur'an. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. What else? Tawheed. La ilaha illallah. Dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you stay in a state of wudu, shaitan comes very little next to you. Not as effective. When you're fasting, what happens? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, what happens in Ramadan to the shayateen? They're all put into chains. Correct? So in other words, when you are in submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a practicing Muslim, إِلَّا عِبَادِكَ الْمُخْلَصِينَ, that shaitan says, I cannot have any control or any influence over your obedient, devout servants. But أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم is the one. Because if you remain resisting this dog and driving him away from you, he will be kept at a distance. But in this way, you will waste your precious time. On the other hand, if you do not resist him, he will bite you. It is therefore better to pray to dog's owner, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep his animal, his dog away from you. Shaytan alayhi la'na. Secondly, some of the ulama have suggested that shaitan may be turned away by means of mujahada. struggle, spiritual exercises, and discipline. Imam Ghazali rahimahullah says, in my humble opinion, the best course to get rid of shaitan is to take resort to both the ways mentioned above. You need to work on your nafs and control your nafs, the enemy within, his friend inside, and of course seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the outside dog. Two enemies. One, mujahada, you fight with the inner one. So he's weak, hunger, thirst, fasting, lots of spiritual exercises, dhikrullah, strengthen your heart. Constantly, what happens to shaitan outside? Come on man, let's go outside and play. The guy is sick inside, he doesn't want to come out. Correct? So you control both ends. In spite of all this, shaitan is not defeated and remains victorious on you, no matter what you do. You should believe that this is a trial, a test for you by which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires to test your mujahada, your resolve and your sincerity, your patience and steadfastness in the deen. And he gives an example, he says, sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala imposes on us the kuffar, the enemies of Allah in the battlefield in order to, we fight with them so that He wants to grant us martyrdom, for example. From an outer, it's a mujahid, it's real difficult. But the result of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates your rank to the martyrdom. You become a shaheed. What a wonderful way to go. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in surah, the 3rd surah, verse 140, so that Allah may know those who believe and may choose witnesses amongst you, samatu shahada. And also says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you think that you would enter into paradise while yet Allah does not know those of you who are really striving His path, nor does He know those of you who are steadfast? It's a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this regard help us. Shaitan will, alayhi la'na, will use the following method with us. How many? For a Muslim. He will come to you, if you're really jahil Muslim, he will ask you to say some words of shirk and kufr. If you don't know, you fall into it. Absolutely. You'll say words and you do things which will take you outside of Islam you wouldn't even know. Na'udhu billah. If you're jahil Muslim, have no knowledge, the next step with him is that he'll make you feel good about your religion, but he'll make you invent things in religion. I know one particular grandmother, we used to call her grandmother, she had a different new form of Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Her Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim was Bismillah al-Malim. Bismillah al-Malim. Bismillah al-Malim. What the heck is Bismillah al-Malim? I've got no idea. She says, I like this one. It came to my heart and Bismillah al-Malim. Ya Latif. No matter how sincere you are, if you go to some particular tomb and go around 7 tawafs around that particular tomb, do you become a haji? Na'udhu billah. Hajj is fard. That one's complete bid'ah and kufr and shirk, correct? No matter how sincere you are, it doesn't make any difference. It has to be Sharia compliant first, whatever you do. So in other words, you need knowledge. And you need to apply that knowledge with sincerity. 3 tripods, remember, we talked about before. If he cannot achieve that bid'ah with you, he will try to push you towards kaba'ir, major sins. Drink alcohol, commit zina. Yep. Oh, it's okay, Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. Steal, haram, gamble, kill somebody, disobey your parents, lie. So many of them, over 100 kaba'ir, Shaitan will try his best to deceive you to do those things. The major sins. If you cannot achieve this, you're resisting it by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of your iman, because of knowledge and your sincerity. Shaitan will try to make you do little sins. Sigar or sagair. As Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in a hadith, La saghirata ma'al israr. وَلَا كَبِيرَةَ مَعَ الْإِسْتِغْفَارِ. If you insist on, brother, it's only makruh. Oh yeah, it's only makruh, it's not haram. Okay, If you practice makruh continuously, that little seedling of makruh, little sin, becomes a huge tree. That's why some of our ulama, some of our mashaykh say, if you do a makruh 8 times in a row, that becomes a serious sin. In other words, you are pushing yourself towards turning that into a habit. Once it becomes a habit, it becomes a real major problem. And you try the rest of your life to get rid of this particular bad habit from your self. Tell me, brother, is smoking haram? It's only makruh, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, whatever you like, whatever you say. And that bad habit that killed your friend in the hospital from cancer, the one that caused divorce between husband and wife, and the people cannot stand your company because you stink, started with one little makruh called little white stick. Yeah? Shaytan comes to you in different disguises. He says, only a makruh, Allah is Ghafur Rahim, don't worry. Yeah, no problem. If he cannot stop you from committing, he cannot make you commit the saghair, the minor sins, then he tries to occupy your time with mubah things. I'm collecting stamps. Brother, you can do millions of other things to help this ummah. You can learn a skill for yourself and you can help the other people. Go and help somebody. It's mubah to, jog. Nice, beautiful, healthy, good, no problem. One particular sheikh says, actually, Rahmatullahi Alayh, Muhammad A, he says, my uncle, one of my old uncles in the city I was born, he's a great wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says he was working in the field. He's a farmer. And he saw some city folk came from the city on a holiday in that particular township, small township. Every morning, a group, 5, 6 of them are jogging. Jogging. The first morning, he looks at these people, subhanallah. Following morning, he looks at these people, subhanallah. Third morning, he stops them. He says, where are you going? What are you guys doing? He says, we're jogging. We want to be healthy. He says, you lost your mind. You've got no aql. He says, if you want to become healthy, become fit, he says, go and help that poor farmer. He needs some plowing. He needs some digging. He needs some work. He says, go work in the farm a whole day. You'll be fit, he says. Be useful. Mubah? Yes, it is mubah. It is what you call permissible. But there are better things to do. Shaitan will stop you from doing the better things. Or if there are 2 good khairs next to each other, Shaitan will try his best for you to settle for the lesser hasanat one, easier one. This is his tricks. Alayhi la'na. He works on the waswasa principle. Shaitan will try to whisper into you, just suggest to you. I'm going to go through this in a more detailed form in the conversation, so I'm just passing it very quickly. If he cannot do it himself, he will use your weakest point, the people that you love, from the human beings. Shayateen al-jinn wal-ins. Other people will do his bidding, and they will come and convince you to do haram. Sometimes you call this in the modern parlance, peer group pressure. Yep. Your best mates will be the ones who will make you do the worst harams. Your best mates. What kind of a best mate is this? They are the ones who are asking you to do haram. That's not a best mate. They are the worst people on earth. Because they want your destruction. But we all do it together, man. It's fun. Sure, sin is always fun. But remember, what follows sin is Jahannam. Disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a small sin, man. Don't look at the size of the sin. Look at the one towards whom you're committing that sin. Is the problem. Is the question that you should ask yourself. Other armors, the method Shaitan has. So, how to protect yourself from Shaitan's attack? You need to have knowledge, ilman nafi'ah. You must always have dhikrullah, a wird, daily wird. And your heart must be occupied and your tongue is always moist with dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim and mujahada and discipline that we looked at before. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an, in Surah Al-Saba, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَإِمَّا يَنْزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. What do you do during the shaitan attack? You feel the shaitan is really pressing you to do something bad? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the command in the Qur'an. And if a whisper, a waswasa, suggestion from the devil reach you to your heart, then immediately seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Verily, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all hearing and all knowing. Allah knows what's happening to you. So if you seek refuge, inshallah ta'ala, this will help you. Did you hear that Shaytan became a khatib? He gave a sermon in Jahannam. People all, when he was in Jahannam, like in the Western concept, he think that he's the boss of Jahannam. Na'udhu billah. He's burning like you. Shaitan burns, the Jahannam burns everything, including Shaitan. Yeah, but Shaitan is made out of fire, bro. How can he be burnt? Oh, that fire will burn everything, don't worry. It's not the fire that you know of. That fire will burn everything. Anything that comes into it. So, Shaitan alayhi la'na, when people go and grab him, he says, because of you we are here. You are the one. They want to bash him. What does Shaitan say to them? It's in the Qur'an. Surah Ibrahim, verse 22. قال الشيطان لما قضي الأمر إن الله وعدكم وعد الحق ووعدتكم فأخلفتكم وما كان لي عليكم من سلطان إلا أن دعوتكم فاستجبتم لي. صدق الله العظيم. And Shaitan will say, when the matter has been decided, in other words, he's been escorted to Jahannam, he's in Jahannam, and he's burning with everybody else, they go and grab him. And he will say to them, verily Allah promised you a promise of haqq, truth. There was Jannah, there was Jahannam. There is haqq of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, haqq of Qur'an, and there was the batil of Shaitan, my way. And I too promised you, but I failed you. I had no authority over you except that I called you, so you responded to me. I gave you waswasa, I just suggested to you, you just followed me like fools. He said, it's your problem, not my problem. I didn't do anything to you. I didn't force you. I didn't make you do it. I just suggested to you. You are the gullible fools, you followed me. What else does he say? Therefore he says, فَلَا تَلُومُنِي وَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَنَا بِمُصْرِخِكُمْ وَمَا أَنْتُمْ بِمُصْرِخِي إِنِّي كَفَرْتُ بِمَا أَشْرَكْتُمُونِي مِنْ قَبْلُ إِنَّ الظَّالِمِينَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. Amazing. This is the reality. Wallahi al-Azim, all the people in Jahannam is going to hear every word of this. What does he say? He says, guys, so do not stop. Do not blame me, but blame yourselves. I cannot help you, nor can you help me. I disbelieved in your making me partner with Allah. Before this, he says, you worship me, you followed my path, but I've got nothing to do with it. It's your foolishness. The unjust zalimun shall have a painful torment in the fire of Jahannam. Shaytan alayhi la'na. That's his story. Now let's come to our story. What happens at this particular junction? اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله صلوا على رسولنا محمد صلوا على شفيع ذنوبنا محمد صلوا على طبيب قلوبنا محمد صلوا على تاج رؤوسنا محمد. So, inshallah, because it is a hadith, I don't want to just talk about it. They're very short, simple, very easy to understand. It's quite fascinating. Inshallah, for those who wish, I will put this as a PDF file on the web, so you can download it and you can read it yourself, inshallah ta'ala. The story of Shaitan coming to visit Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and answering his questions comes from two sources. First, a hadith from Anas ibn Malik radiallahu ta'ala an, and also from Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And this is mentioned in Shajaratul Kawn by Ibn Arabi, Muhammad ibn, what do you call, Muhyiddin ibn Arabi's book, Shajaratul Kawn. There are two reports. Anas's report comes from elsewhere, but the Mu'adh ibn Jabal's comes from Shajaratul Kawn. This is how the story goes. One day a congregation was gathered at the home of one of the Ansar around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. According to Anas ibn Malik, this was the house of Aba Ayyub al-Ansari, rahimullah, radiallahu ta'ala. In the middle of a wonderful discourse, an ugly voice from outside was heard saying, "Oh, the ones inside." Oh, he said, "Oh, Messenger of Allah, would you permit me to enter? I have business with you." All looked at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because that's the adab. You look at the Amir, you look at the head alim, nobody rushes to the door. Let me open and see. They all look at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to the ones who are present, "Do you recognize the owner of this voice?" The companions, Ashab Kiram, answered, "Allah and His Messenger knows best." But no idea. Because they see all sorts of amazing things. Remember last week we talked about Jibreel Amin? Jibreel Hadith, when he came and sat and asked question, وَمَا الْإِسْلَامُ وَمَا الْإِيمَانُ وَمَا الْإِحْسَانُ. Yeah, but this one, Shaytan alayhi la'na. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "It is Shaytan, Satan, the devil, the accursed." On hearing that, Umar radiallahu anh, who was present, got up, pulled the sword out, and asked, "Ya Rasulullah, give me permission to, I'll cut off his head. Let me smash his skull and free the people from his trouble, once for all." The Prophet ﷺ replied, "Ya Umar, no Umar, don't you know that you cannot kill him? He has permission to exist until Qiyamah." Then he added, "Open the door and admit him, as he did not come on his own, but on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commandment. Allah commanded him come here." Or, there is always an underlying reason for these things. Otherwise, he would not have come here. Listen to what he says and try to understand, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. Then the Rawi, Mu'adh ibn Jabal, relates the story. They opened the door and Shaytan appeared in front of us as an old man, cross-eyed, or according to one version, a blind in one eye, and scant of beard, with only a 6 or 7 long hairs, like a horse hair, hanging from his chin, the goatee they say. Huh? He had a very big head, like an elephant. His cross eyes close to the top of his head, high on his forehead, with a big, thick, hanging lips like those of a buffalo. Brrr, he's got big. He saluted, he gave salams to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and companions, to which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam responded, "Oh, ya mal'un, oh the cursed one, the salam and salutations belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." It's good. Then he said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "I heard you are here on a business. What is your business?" Shaitan said, "I did not wish to come here. I was forced to. An angel came to me from your Lord, who honors whom he wishes. He said, Allah Most High orders you to go to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but you will go to him in humility and abasement, and be submissive and tractable. You will tell him how you seduce and mislead mankind, humankind. You are going to answer all his questions truthfully, without a single lie. And Allah said that if I lied to you, He would turn me into ashes and blow me away in the wind, and all my enemies would laugh at me. I come with such orders, O Muhammad." Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked the Shaitan, "Tell me, who in the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do you hate most, ya Iblis?" The devil answered, "You, ya Muhammad." Amongst the creation of God, Almighty, I hate you most. And all the other prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, including this one in another version. There is no one in the whole creation that I hate more. There is none other than like you that I hate most. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam confirmed the Shaytan was alone and all the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was his greatest foe. He then asked, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, whom else do you detest besides me? Do you hate most? I wonder. Who do you think? Ready? George Bush? No. No. So after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who does Shaytan hate most? Shaytan said, the young man or young woman, the youth, who have given up their pleasures, temptations and desires, control their nafs for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and who obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is in ibadah, in ita'ah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I hate him or her the most. Then he continued, the men of knowledge, the ulama, who act upon their knowledge, ulama al-amilin, and who decline all that is doubtful, the people of wara', the people who avoid all the doubtful things. There is halal, there is haram. The grey areas, so many. So his heart says doubtful, keeps it away. I hate those people, he says. Thirdly, the ones who are clean. He loves dirty people, in other words, filthy people. So clean that they wash thrice, 3 times, that which they wish to cleanse. Then the patient poor, the faqir who is patient, who neither ask from others the things they need, no complaint to others. They just forbear. Then he says, I hate most, after that, is the thankful rich person, wealthy person, who gives zakat, sadaqat lawfully and spend lawfully. Anas radiallahu anh then lists 14 enemies after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the knowledgeable who act on that what they know, readers of the Qur'an who pattern themselves on the lifestyle of Qur'an, those who call the prayer for the sake of Allah, the muezzin who called for adhan, the satisfied poor, the compassionate, the generous, those who perform the morning prayer on time, advisors and the reformers, abstainers from the unlawful food and sexual relations, those who are always in ablution, the modest, those who place their trust in Allah, benefiters of the poor and the devout, busy in Allah's service. Our hadith continues. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, what happens to you, O the cursed one, when my people do their salat, when my ummah get up to their salat? I shake and tremble as if stricken with malaria, because I see your people raised in blessing, in barakah and power each time they prostrate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What happens to you, O accursed one, when my people do their fasting in Ramadan or any other fast? I have my hands and feet tied until they break their fast. I can't touch them. What happens when they all meet on the Hajj at the house of their Lord? When they go to Hajj, I lose my wits, I go mad. Shaytan says. What happens to you when they recite the Holy Qur'an? I melt like lead, turning to a hot liquid in the fire. And when they pay zakat, sadaqah, I am torn to pieces as if the generous donor took a saw and sawed me into 4 pieces. Because there are 4 beatitudes which the owner receives, the barakah receives, blessing of abundance, love and respect from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creatures, a shield from hellfire and relief from distress and troubles. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Shaytan what he thought of his beloved companions, about his companions. Then he said, about Abu Bakr, Shaytan said, I hate him. Even before Islam he refused to obey, Nay, even to hear me, how can he now listen to me? He did not listen to me when he was a non-Muslim. He will not even listen to me now. I've got no hope with him. About Umar radiallahu anh, he said, about Umar ibn Khattab, he said, I run away whenever I see him. I don't want to see him. About Uthman radiallahu anh, he said, Uthman ibn Affan, he said, I am ashamed in front of him. Even the angels of mercy, rahmah, are ashamed in front of him. Haya towards the Uthman radiallahu anh. About Ali, karramallahu wajha, ibn Abi Talib, he said, oh, if I could just be safe from him, if he would just let me be, I would let him be, but he will never leave me alone. He says, he always destroys me. One day, Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu anh, karramallahu wajha, he could not wake up for Fajr. He woke up, it was already sunrise. He cried all day. He's blaming himself. What have I done? What have I done? He's making tawbah and constantly crying. Following day, Fajr time, just at Fajr time, exactly time, somebody's waking him up. He says, wake up, Fajr, Fajr. Fajr, wake up. He wakes up, he says, who are you? He says, I'm Shaytan. He says, what are you doing? You're waking me up for Fajr? He says, get up, get up. Yesterday, for the first time in my life, in your life, I managed to trick you. Because of your crying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you 10 years Fajr or something more hasanat. He says, I'm not stupid, get up and do your Fajr, he says. Get up and do your Fajr, he says. Shaytan alayhi la'na. Having heard the answers of the accursed Shaytan about his companions, about the ummah of His Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made hamd, thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said, praise be to Allah who has blessed my people, my ummah with such felicity and cursed you with such negativity until the appointed time. When Shaitan heard this, Shaitan said, alas, alas for you. What felicity for your people. How can you feel there is safety for them as long as I exist? I enter their veins, I enter their very veins, their very flesh, and they cannot even suspect, let alone see or feel me. I swear by Allah, who has given me until the day of Qiyamah, respite until the day of Qiyamah, that I will seduce them all, the intelligent and the simple-minded, the learned as well as the ignorant, the devout as well as the sinner. None will be safe from me except the true servants of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ said, who are the true servants of Allah according to you, Ya Iblis? Shaitan said, you know very well, O Muhammad, that whomsoever loves his money and his property, Allah does not count among them amongst his servants. Whenever I see someone who does not say mine and me, everything, in other words, they want everything, me, ana, or mine, both the sickness of the nafs al-ammara, who does not love either money or flattery, I know he is truly a servant of Allah, and I run away from him. I've got no hope with him. As long as one loves money, property, flattery, he obeys me. He is my servant. I need many servants, and I have many servants. I am not alone. I have 70,000 children, each of them with his assigned duties. Each of my 70,000 children has 70,000 shaitans serving him. 4.9 billion of them. All assigned to different posts. Many are with the young people, youth, and many with the older women, and with the theologians, and the preachers and the sheikhs. There are almost no differences of opinion between your youth and my devils. We get along so well. He says, you youth, your ummah young, and we, says, we're just good mates. Ya Latif. And your children play happily with my children. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, if Shaitan alayhi la'na cannot stop you from concentrating in salat, khushu', he says he'll go and make the little one cry. He says, cry. And no reason, the child screams. Why? Because that's how Shaitan enters. Shaitan plays. And some of the devout and some of the pious get along very well with my people. My devils lead the imagination of the pious from one height to another. Arrogant, they leave the sincerity of their devotions. Soon they fight with each other, and they don't even know what is happening to them. Then I whisper to them, disbelieve. But when they disbelieve, I say, I am free from you. Surely I fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Lord of the worlds. I am away from you. Because kufr is bad. Then the accursed devil told how he profited from habits of men which he liked. About lying, he said, do you know, O Muhammad, that lying is from me and I am the first liar? Whoever lies is my best friend. There was a movie recently, what is it called? The man who invented the first liar. Recently? Some nonsense. So who's the first liar? Invention of lying, something. But who's the first liar? Shaytan says, I am the first liar. Whoever lies is my best friend. Whoever swears to the truth of his lies is my beloved. Rasulullah was walking with one of the companions. Could Muslim be this? Could Muslim be this? Could Muslim be this? Yes. He said he could be coward. He can run away from the war. He can be this, this, this. Then he said, could a Muslim lie? Rasulullah says, no, impossible. A Muslim does not lie. Muslim can be a sinner. Muslim can be a worse person. But a Muslim does not lie. You look around and see how many Muslims of today fit in that non-lying category. Hafidhanallahu wa iyyakum. And the people in the court cases, you go to Turkey, there are people waiting. You know, some people say, when they go in front of the judge says, do you have any witness? No witnesses. Oh, hold on, judge, hold on, let me find out if I have any witnesses. They go outside, there are some professional witnesses. They say, how much? $500. Okay, what do you want me to say to the judge? I saw the car smashing into your car, the thief came in, he gives a false evidence. He says, Wallah billah, my boss, I swear by Qur'an that this man did this man did this. In other words, he's giving evidence. This is absolutely, Shaytan says, I love them. You know, O Muhammad, that I swore by Allah and lied to Adam and Eve? Did you know that? I told them when they were in Jannah, I swore by Allah and told them first lie. I swore to them both, surely I am a sincere advisor to you. I am your best friend, I told them. I am only thinking of you. Because if you eat from this tree, forbidden tree, you will stay here for what? Khalidina fiha. You will stay here forever. It says they believed me. Because human beings in Jannah never heard of a lie before. Shaytan is the one who made the first lie. That's why he says, I am the first liar. I also love rejection and gossip. They are my delightful fruits. I detest loving families. If you think of rejecting each other, separating from each other, and talk about divorce, even if just once, the marriage bond in Allah's view is dissolved. The wife will be unlawful to the husband. When they sleep together, they will be adulterers. If they have a child, he will be an illegitimate child. I love all that, he says. O Muhammad, let me tell you about my friends who abandon prayers or delay them. When it is time to salat, to pray, time for prayer, I make them imagine that there is still time. This is how Shaytan approaches you. That they are busy. Oh, finish what you're doing first. How Shaytan makes tasweef. They should enjoy what they are doing. They can always pray later, I tell them. I hope they will die before doing their next prayer. And some of them do, indeed. They cark it. They die before they're doing the next salat. Even when they do their prayers late, their devotions are thrown into their faces. If I cannot succeed myself, I send them a human shaitan who will prevent them from doing their devotions. If I don't succeed again, I enter into their prayers. I tell them, look to the right, look to the left, play with your beard, play with the dresses, play this. He says, some people when they're praying, as if they are not in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're watching everything. Sometimes I turn around as an imam to see. Some people are still catching on the last few rakats. They're watching me, what am I doing with my tasbih? And subhanallah, this is from Shaytan alayhi la'na. The moment that you take your eye from the position of sajda, you're gone. Allah says He's not interested in me, I'm not interested in Him. Shaytan alayhi lana achieves this. Look at to the right and look at to the left. Think of your past, plan your future in the salat. Shaytan gives waswasa. And then when they do, I caress their cheeks and kiss their foreheads and take the peace from their hearts. They're constantly troubled. You know, O Muhammad, that the prayers of those whose attention is outside of them, or who are imagining things which do not belong in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the salat, also rejected and thrown in their faces by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if I'm not successful in that, I order them to their prayers fast. And they look like hens, chickens, picking at grain. If I still don't succeed, I follow them to their congregational salat, to the jama'ah, and put the bridles on their heads. I pull and lift their heads from the prostration before the imam. They go to the sajda quickly, before the imam, or get up before the imam. And I push their heads down before the imam, touches his head to the ground. And I am overjoyed to remember that Allah will turn those untruly heads into donkeys' heads on the day of Qiyamah. If I'm still not successful, I try at least to make them crack their fingers while they're making prayers. Then they will be among those who make my tasbih instead of Allah's tasbih. Or at least I will blow onto their noses and make them yawn in salat. And if they open their mouths, a little one of mine, little devil will enter into their mouths and is making somersaults of laughter. And once they are so ghafil in salat like this, he says, I will put the love of this dunya and ambition of this world into their hearts. The one who loves and is ambitious for this world becomes my soldier. He obeys every command of mine, does as he is ordered by me. Ya Muhammad, I have told a single lie. If I told you a single lie, may the scorpions bite me. And I ask from Allah that He turn me into ashes. O Muhammad, do not be sure of your people. I have already converted a sixth of them who have left their religion. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, O accursed one, with whom do you most like to spend your time with? The usurer, the person who deals in interest. Who's your best friend, O Shaytan? The adulterer. With whom do you share your bed? Who do you go to sleep with? The drunkard. Alcoholics. Who are your guests? The thieves. Who are your representatives? Who do your bidding? Who are your prophets, so to speak? The magicians and the soothsayers. What pleases you most? Divorce between human beings. Whom do you love most? Those who abandon their Friday salat. I love them. Anas radiallahu anh gives 8 more different categories of these people. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Ya Iblis, what breaks your heart? Iblis says, the determination and the firm footsteps of those who march against the enemies of Allah for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in jihad. What gives you pain? The repentance of the Muslim who sinned before he makes tawbah to Allah, that kills me, he says. That gives me the most pain. What makes you grimace? In other words, expressing disgust, you don't know, you turn your face. The alms, sadaqah given in secret. What makes your eyes blind? The tahajjud salat in the middle of the night. What makes your head bow in humility, really give up? Salatan in jama'ah. It kills me, he says. The Prophet ﷺ continued asking, O Shaytan, according to you, who are the happiest amongst the people? He said, the ones who purposefully abandon their prayers. And the best amongst people, in your eyes, who's the best? The miser, the bakhil, the one who doesn't give anything. What prevents you from doing your job? The gathering of men of knowledge and their discourses. فَقِيهٌ وَاحِدٌ أَشَدُّ عَلَى الشَّيْطَانِ min alf abid, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. One alim is against the shaitan more formidable than 1,000 just simple worshippers. Ilm, majus is ilm. How do you eat your food? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, with my left hand and the tips of my finger. Left hand, tips of his finger. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to stop people from eating with their left hand. When you look at Muslim youth today, they don't care. Left, non-Muslim habit. A Muslim has to be very careful. When the sun is hot, where do you seek shade? When people are, where do you go? Under people's dirty fingernails, he says. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, what did you ask from my Lord on the day you were rejected from his presence? Did you ask any favors from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Then he said, Shaytan says, I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 10 requests. And he gave me every one of them. 10 requests. What were they? Oh, mal'oon. Okay. Let me finish this one. I am finished. I can stop this and continue next week. Shall I continue? Who says continue? Who says don't continue? Put your hand up. One continue, 147 says no. Continue. Who says don't continue? Leave it for next week. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. That's a good idea, but I've got more interesting stuff here. The good bits are, juicy bits are coming at the end. But I am so curious as what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him. When he was kicked out, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala respite, and he also asked for 10 things. Allah gave everything to him to make the challenge more stronger. He said, I asked Allah to make me a partner in the properties and the children of Adam. He gave that to me. And he said, in the ayah, in Surah Bani Israel, verse 64, and inside whom you can, with thy voice, and collect against them thy horse and thy foot, and share with them in wealth and children, and promise them, and Shaytan promised them only to deceive. This is an evidence from Qur'an. I eat from their meat of animals, killed without Bismillah, and from the food brought by money, gained through interest, injustice, and tyranny are haram. I am a shareholder of their property, those whose owner does not take refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from me. I am a partner, I am a part father of their children, which comes from intercourse performed without A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I am a traveling companion of the one who rides a vehicle which is going to an unlawful destination. I asked Allah to give me a house, and He gave me all the public baths as my home. I asked Allah to give me a temple, and He gave me the marketplaces as my temple. What are the best places in the sight of Allah? Masajid. What are the worst places in the sight of Allah? The aswaq, the suq. Correct? He said, that's my masjid. I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me a book. He gave me the books of poetry as my book. I asked for adhan. I want adhan also. I call for prayer. And He gave me the dancing music. I asked for someone to share my bed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me all the drunkards. I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for helpers. Allah gave me those who believe in the free will. In other words, Qadariyah. I asked Allah to give me brothers and sisters, and Allah gave me the squanderers who spend their money on evil things. Musrifeen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, surely the squanderers are shayateen best friend, brethren. Then I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be able to see. I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be able to see the children of Adam while they are unable to see me. And He accorded that to me. He also gave me that permission. I wish that the very veins of the children of Adam be my routes, ways, and it was given to me. So I flow in their veins as I wish and enter their flesh. All these are given to me. I am proud of what I have received. And let me add, Ya Muhammad, that there are more with me than there are with you. And until Qiyamah, there will be more with me than there are with you. Then Rasulullah ﷺ said, if you had not proven that you said with the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's book that you gave as an evidence, it should have been hard for me to confirm what you say. Then the devil continued, do you know, Ya Muhammad, that I have a son whose name is Atam? A son called Atam. He urinates in the ear of the people who go to sleep without performing their Isha Salat. His urine puts them to sleep. Otherwise, no one could have done or gone to bed without finishing their prayers. Then I have a son whose name is Mutaqadi. His duty is to publicize the prayers and devotions, the good deeds which are done in secret for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised the reward, the good deed, when done in sincerity and secretly, 100-fold. When the deeds are publicized and receive credit from the human beings and praise from the creatures of Allah, Allah takes away 99 of the promised one, leaves only one with him. And he talks about other sons of his. I'm going to stop here. Jazakumullahu khair jaza. So the episode will continue next week. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. There is a question here. Oh, sorry. He says the pizza is getting cold. Monday? Yes. Monday is the night of Nisf Sha'ban. Laylatul Bara'ah. The night, middle of Sha'ban. A holy night in the Islamic calendar. Inshallah, there shall be a program here at the mosque. You're all invited. It is better perhaps you fast that day voluntarily and come. Inshallah, there will be iftar here at iftar time, Maghrib time. And there will be a program in the evening. And we will inshallah pray Salatul Tahajjud and Salatul Tasbih and what have you. And inshallah, come and share the evening with us. It will be a beautiful, opportune time to renew our contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, repentance with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inshallah bless us with beneficial knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our a'mal al-salihah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of the mukhlaseen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us yaqeen, haya, taqwa and husnul khuluq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always allow us to be in the khidmah of His deen and in khidmah of His servants who are obedient to Him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow our loved ones to be in His path. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to leave this world in a state of iman and inshallah meet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Jannah as his neighbor. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك لله تعالى الفاتحة.